All right, here we are. It's time for town hall meeting number 147. It's May 20th, 2025. And today we're being joined by Alfred, Daniel, Guillermo, Jeffrey, Tavo, Zork, and Vanni. Thanks for being here. As you can see a little outline of today's agenda, starting off with, I believe, only one mention this week. And then main topic for today would be upcoming workgroup sentiment analysis. And I'll also figured it would be good to call out the schedule basically for the Q3 budget proposals. If there's any time remaining after that, and there very well might be, feel free to suggest further agenda items. You can drop them in the chat or simply raise your hand and bring them up. Then a quick reminder on what the ambassador program is and what we're doing. Basically, we're a group of people that are all quite like-minded on the mission and vision of Singularity and its ecosystem, working towards beneficial AGI. And we do this in a wide range of self-organizing work groups, where basically, if you want to help out, we do have a work group that fits your interests. So please do hop onto our Discord server. There's a getting started, or how to join rather, section. This will tell you how to join, and it'll be smooth sailing from there. Then, actually two mentions. I forgot. First one being on NuNet community all hands. They had quite a lot of updates to their appliance. Yeah, I can just strongly suggest checking that out. It's at 14 UTC. It'll be on X, and yeah, they just keep churning along. So I wanted to give a little shout out to that. And another shout out to Head Elf or Tommy. He took well, also actually the Fries DeFi as well, or the ambassador formerly known as the Fries DeFi. Just keep going, I believe is his new username. He made a nice Head Elf specifically made a nice recording of Ben's talk during the Toronto event last week, and can highly recommend checking that out. It's on YouTube under the Cardano for Seniors account, but on X he's also posting about it, and that's Tommy Greybeard. I'll actually put it in chat as well, so you can. Tommy Greybeard. With a typo in there, good stuff. There we go. That's his Twitter handle. Do recommend checking out his coverage of that event because it's quite awesome. And I believe that's it on the mentions side of things. Well, actually, I also want to shout out Colleen for yesterday hosting a community discussion in light of AI ethics. Was good to see. Decent turnout. Felt really cool to me. I'm not quite sure if there will be a full recording available at some point. I do think it was recorded, so that's boding well there. So yeah, I hope that will be shared shortly, basically. All right, that's it on the mention side of things. Then, yeah, during governance work group earlier today, we discussed, well, basically the context was the minimum work group budgets, which we tried to puzzle out over the last week. We got quite a lot of input, not all work groups, but most. And yeah, that basically brought us in a position like, okay, now we have this information, how to proceed. And it was suggested to gather a bit of, well, additional context, insights, information, and yeah, well, primarily sentiment. And I think I can just go ahead and screen share the survey. The link will be published after the town hall. It needs to be transferred still. Google account stuff doesn't matter. The link will be shared, both on the governance channel. I think Ambassadors General channel makes sense. Decisions to be made make sense. try and make some noise about it. And yeah, before you start thinking the results of the survey will be binding, they will not be binding. So rest assured there. It's mostly, well, gathering insights. Let me go ahead and thanks to Tevo for actually having made this already in the past hours after the call finished before town hall. So perhaps, I don't know, I don't want to take any credit, but Tevo, maybe you want to go over it a little?
You kind of described it already. And if you basically scroll down, there are going to be three sections. One is this main part, priority sentiment, where we are basically trying to assess your opinion on the need of that group. And critical is then something, and the description of these priorities are in the description itself. Critical is something that if this guild doesn't get funding, is the ambassador program going to break down? Important is that it's very important for the mission of ambassador program, or you find it very, very important. And neutral is that you don't know, or you don't have like very strong opinions on that. And low priority is that uh, it's okay if that group or guild is like temporarily either paused or like reduced like this funding. Then yeah, there's like a bunch of these. Technically, that first section took me about like 5 minutes, so it shouldn't be that hard. And at the beginning, maybe it takes a bit of thinking, but once you kind of get get into motion of giving your feedback, it's getting a bit faster. And the second part of this question is like user relations. So I was wondering, like later, if you want to a bit like assess the relevance of the person doing that decision, and then we can also like group it into different like buckets. And yeah, technically, if we are going to collect emails, but only the Peter can see it, then we can also cross-check with some actual like uh, treasury data, but I don't think we are needed for that. But yeah, for a first question, I understand group scope is basically you have read the proposal, you remember, and in using this survey, I'm not expecting you to do like research or go into proposals. Here is more about from top of your head. Do you remember what he's doing? Yes or no? If it's unclear, untick that box. And that's also good and good insight. Like it's always either the group is changing their narrative or it's unclear of what they're doing, even if it's maybe clearly described. But that's a later topic we can dive into. Then the difference here is like I attend meetings that gives us a very clear indication that you're actually part of the discussions or you will regularly catch up async. So having like these two will help us to understand how like often you engage with it. And then the final, I contribute to the work group is more like you do an asset or you like make activities that get rewarded from the work group. That kind of gives you even more like alignment to that work group. And later we can check are these and how much of these like relations affect the voting. Like let's say I contribute to the work group and is that because the work group is critical or you don't tick any of these boxes, but you select the critical work group, then it means that this most likely a critical work group. However, if you untick nothing and you put neutral, then it means, yeah, you didn't know anything about it, you put neutral, or and if you like, so basically it helps us to group people's sentiment and do more like a group analysis on different style of people doing the priority selection previously. And then on the final section of the forum, there will be um, some additional helpful stuff. It may and may not be used. One is like delivers clear outputs. This is more like reporting. So um, based on like on your understanding, or if you have looked at if the you understand what they're doing and if it's clearly like reported. And another thing, a unique work group. Yeah, this might be a bit hard. The way I thought what it could mean is that, like, say, African Guild for me is not unique work group because it's very similar to Marketing Guild and Latam Guild. They're all like coordinating, but they have like this, although they are unique in a sense, they're focusing on a specific like area. But so that uniqueness here maybe probably differ from work to or like from person understanding of uniqueness. Um, Nevertheless, felt like something that is good to measure, and yeah, can help us in future. Then feels under-resourced is again your feeling like considering the current budget limits and or even if not budget limits, maybe the budget is great, but the work group is totally fine. But in your opinion, if you would put even more money under that, it would actually be more effective. So in that kind of sense, feels under-resourced. That's it.
That's it indeed. Thanks a lot. Yeah, just an obligatory reminder. Also, we have a couple of new joiners in the call. The results of this survey won't be binding. Like, it doesn't mean um, all the work groups that get a lot of ticks under feels under resourced will get more resources. It's not like that. Or if I don't know, you catch my drift, right? Um, it's just informing and trying to capture more understanding. Yeah, then
Yeah. The point of this work group is like because today in the governance work group, when we went over stuff, like there is no way to assess people's minimum budget without going directly into the work group and then the like immediate next step is like, okay, this budget line, like, is this really a need? And then that discussion itself would probably take weeks. And again, we already started going for, okay, we need again blanket, basically what we have done before, having like blanket rewards and then just fill your need. And this whole help us a bit more. My assumption or hypothesis is that with this data, we're able to differ some work groups and provide the more like not just a blanket rewards to teams, but more dynamical based on the entire group's assessment of what's the ambassador program about and what are all these work groups doing and what's their relation to the ambassador program.
yeah, cool. And I also quite like funny suggestion to link here to the minimum work group budgets as well, or the budget planner. Actually, yeah, budget planner makes more sense there. Just for
I don't know, actually, on reflection, I think the workgroup minimums sheet might be better because it's clearer because you've got to wade through quite a lot of stuff to see someone's budget in the budget planner and see what they actually spend it on. So I don't know, maybe both. Ugh.
I mean, both documents would be findable if one were to look for them. So it's mostly about making it a bit easier. To me, it's perfectly fine to link both.
I'm also thinking I can foresee issues with interpretation with neutral. I think we need to separate out because there's a difference between I'm uncertain of this group's value and I think it's moderately useful, isn't there? I think we've got to have those as two options. Otherwise, we'll be asking, oh, was the person saying that because they don't know or because, do you know what I mean?
I agree. Split it out. All right. Then Tafo is posting a question in chat on whether we should be rewarding people that fill in this form. And there's a little thumbs up, thumbs down vote thingy next to it. So let's try and catch a quick sentiment. If you don't mind going into chat and indicating your opinion, then well, we do have that little tidbit of information. We have 12 people in the room. We need a little bit more input, please. Check out the chat and click the thumbs up or thumbs down based on whether you feel filling in this form should be rewarded. So far, there's excluding Devo because he chose both options. 3 people clicking the thumbs down. Also, I haven't clicked. Don't want to sway the results too much. That's a good check to have. If let's flip it around and have a quick check if anybody strongly feels they should be rewarded. Please speak up now. And if not, we wouldn't reward it, I think.
Yeah, the reason I asked was because I was feeling it's kind of worth it because it's valuable information and it takes time. And it's not like quick question, yes or no. It's basically the fact that it takes time, that's why I thought it could be rewarded. But yeah, I see sentiment that most people don't want it to be rewarded, so let's just move on.
Well, it's good to check on. But yeah, okay. All right. Any questions in the room on this sentiment survey? Because that's pretty. Oh well, just for clarity, in light of anonymity, let me just add. I'll put this on my personal Google account to prevent that everybody with the ambassador Gmail account can see all responses. And yeah, that's a bit centralized. At the same time, it's the closest we can get to doing this anonymous and also making sure that people don't put double entries. So yeah, figured I should at least call that out.
Oh, should we add a closing date? And if
Yes.
so, when?
Well, we had a bit of a discussion on Discord. Well, discussion, there's back and forth. Tefo was under the impression that we would be using this input coming Thursday during open governance session already, which would technically put the closing date right before that call, or half an hour before, let's say, something like that.
Yeah, I wouldn't put closing date. Maybe this is what we incentivize. So you get rewarded if you do it before open call, but it's open for 1 more week until the next governance workgroup where the final results will be used for discussions and budget minimums.
Yeah, in itself, not against it. At the same time, there's nobody arguing for awards, so does make me wonder if people do this within the coming 2 days, if that then should bring rewards. If it's still not going to be the final outcome, I'm a little torn there, to be honest. Let's keep it a secret. Like maybe there will be rewards for those that put it, answer it in the coming 2 days. You don't know? It might be.
I don't know. I just think since we're struggling so much with budget, it seems mad to be looking for more things to reward. We're skint.
I do agree.
Yeah, sorry to jump in. Yeah, I totally agree with Vani. I do understand the sense of need of information of these data sets that we're looking for. But our bigger metrics is engagement in governance, and we have lacked of that kind of engagement voting. In why are we assuming if we and we always agree that we shouldn't reward voting engagement. It is a responsibility that not all of core contributors are even assuming. So probably I don't know if this is the right place. Sorry, I missed governance today. I will be there on Thursday, but probably something to discuss on governance. Kind of a responsibility to vote, that kind of, I don't want to sound like bullshit democracy kind of thing, but it is kind of a right that that you earn as a core contributor. So I've been thinking on, because probably a little bit of context. So we have started building a governance dashboard, and yeah, how we can improve engagement, and we have been trying to probably gamify the thing, but avoiding rewards. So I don't think we should do an exception in this. Nevertheless, that the data is relevant. I think we can get this information, or probably an open discussion on this, probably in governance. I don't know what you guys think, but we can have this information, and also when we disclose it, we can discuss the relevance, what contributors see. I know, and it's also a good challenge to keep motivating members to engage in voting and governance without being the need of paying. It's kind of even avoiding that the market price. It shouldn't matter. So yeah, my vote is that we need to. It's not too much time for what I see on Tivo's showcase. He make a pretty simple kind of. So yeah, no rewarding.
All right. In chat, there's now a little discussion on whether to track it. Like technically, it wouldn't compromise anonymity if I would, if it's on my account, I would be the one that has a list of people that participated, and then clearly wouldn't share what people have clicked on, but it would capture on-chain those that have participated, and they would get, for example, mints to reflect that. Also, it could open the can of worms on, oh, I better know who said XYZ about a work group. Technically, I mean, yeah. Well, one of the participants, sure, but I don't know. I'm not saying like we don't have to decide right now. Like technically, this information will stay available and can do it later as well. But in itself, I kind of feel like participation to governance is something we should be tracking on chain because that's a valuable metric.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's fine, but I do think we have to decide before we put the form out. We can't be having people filling it in and then feeling possibly that their anonymity's been compromised by a decision to record it after the fact. I think we've got to say now that we are or we aren't. I mean, yeah, it's probably fine, but we've just got to be transparent, I think.
Fair in itself, yeah, agree. Yeah, it's this is hard to solve because if I would now ask the room, like, is there anybody that would not participate if their name would be at some point visible that they have participated? Are people gonna, those that it would be relevant to, would they also speak up? Like, it's the puzzle we have often.
Well, perhaps let's just move on from not rewarding like almost entire Zoom call is against it and then not also recognizing it because it's the first run either way. We can keep it like an MVP. All we want are the results and see if because we don't even know if the results are helping us. We just have a hypothesis it will help us.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, let's keep it simple. All right. Any further suggestions or comments? So basically what I wrote down now is to split out the neutral into uncertain of value versus moderately useful. Make that extra option basically. And then after that, it can go live.
Oh, except just to add like those couple of links into the description and add the closing date into the description. That was the only things.
All right, so closing date would be right before governance workgroup 27th.
Yeah. So next Tuesday.
I believe so, yes. I mean, open to suggestions, but yeah.
27, right. Yeah.
All right.
And did we decide like what account it's going to be on? Did we say it's going to stay on the ambassador account or?
I would be perfectly fine to have it on my account. And then, of course, when sharing the results, to hide the column where the email addresses are.
I think that would be better as a first instance. I think too many people can see the ambassador one for it to be confidential. Just in case anyone's wondering, I don't want us to have any glitches in interpretation going, oh, I wonder if people didn't say this because it wasn't confidential. So it just clears it up so that we don't have to wonder.
Yeah, fair. I do think we did touch on this at the start, but I'm not. You make me doubt now. It's good to make sure.
Oh
Right?
no, maybe I just missed it. Maybe I was not in the room.
Oh, good. Oh, good. All right. I think that concludes the topic. Final check. Yeah, then agenda-wise, I figured it would just be, there's not a lot on the agenda. After this, I would just like to call out the schedule, basically. You see a great copy-paste from a Discord post, but it does have all information. There's no infographic yet. So, question mark. Yeah, basically it's the same schedule as we used previous iteration, but just transposed into June rather than March. Yeah, so basically it would mean that June 5th would be the moment where we establish all the budget caps. And then the deadline for work groups to submit the Q2 report and the Q3 budget would be Monday the 9th of June. That's also the moment when we run the calculations on who's a core contributor. And then by the 16th, there's a deadline to complete the consent forms. The Tuesday after that, we discuss any potential objections in the governance workgroup meetings. And yeah, also if there's no objections, that's the moment where workgroups can get approved. Then those that did get objections will have to revise and puzzle out the objections. And then the deadline for to resubmit, like the rework budget, would be 22nd, Sunday, end of day. So that we, by the 23rd, can send out the forms for the second round for the objections, for the work groups that have received objections. Then until Wednesday, there's a consent round. And hopefully by 26th, Thursday during open governance meeting, we can discuss the last bits and pieces and finalize. Any questions or comments on this?
If somebody from Treasury Good is watching it from YouTube, I posted in a Treasury Good channel to move our 10th June meeting to 9th June so we can finalize on the call. Else we need to somehow figure it out asynchronously, but we agreed last meeting that we are doing it in the session itself.
Yeah, fair.
And if you were in the call, do here, so you know.
All right. That leaves us with potentially 19 minutes of open topics. If anybody has something they feel we should be discussing with the town hall. I'll put a quick reminder on next week's town hall being the workgroup updates one. So keep that in mind. Vanessa.
Yeah, there was just that thing that came out of the previous governance work group meeting about trying to record the voluntary contributions that people make and the things they do without being paid. And Peter, you had an idea about doing it via a spreadsheet.
Well, yeah. Yeah, basically the idea there would be to make sure that if people are doing unpaid tasks, they still get captured on D-work. Like, it feels like least you could do is at least capture the contributions in that sense, even though there would not be rewards. But then, yeah, this could create a bunch of overhead if all the work groups have to all of a sudden start doing a bunch more task management. Yeah, that's basically why I suggested like we could use a sheet, and then one person once a week spends half an hour bashing it into tasks, and that's it. Then the overhead would be minimized, I think. In itself, I'm not against all work groups doing this on their own. Yeah, however they want to do it, but it could be a way of saving a bit of overhead to do it through a sheet. And just for context, right now work groups can already do this. Like it's not some great ingenious new invention. As a work group, you can create tasks and not assign any rewards to it. But yeah, I think there the context was that also in light of budget cuttings over the past quarters, people are doing more tasks that are unpaid, volunteer. So it would be a shame if those don't get captured. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that's the context for this. I see a thumbs up.
Just out of curiosity, if a work group wanted to do it like directly in D-work, would you put the task straight to audited, or would you still put it in whatever the third one is, and just put no money against it, and it would go through the treasury system in order to be recorded as something that was done?
No, it's both in GitHub and Dwork. If you want it to import it to Treasury, it needs to be in the audited column. If you don't want rewards, then you don't assign rewards on the title in the Dwork, or you don't assign rewards in GitHub on the field. Yeah, I don't think anybody right now other than me uses Singularity GitHub project for task management. But I will say I spent about 2 hours, right, and like per quarter for Workgroup to manage Dwork, and now I'm using GitHub, and I feel like I'm 10 times faster. So I don't know, is this even possible? But like the fact that it's instantly loading and I can copy paste stuff without opening the random fields that load is pretty good. The thing that's still to figure out is how to make task templates that would make it even more cooler. But right now, yeah, I haven't spent time on that, and nor do we actually really have time in this regarding the budgets to do any kind of support or additional stuff.
Yeah, fair. Especially that reloading thing. I can imagine introducing quite a bit of quality of life there. Yeah, so any thoughts in the room? Like, is this something as a work group you would use? Like,
Yeah, the setup is maybe the only thing that kind of right now this quarter you will notice that maybe you don't even notice it, but probably that takes like time. I think it takes at the first time, because I'm totally new to GitHub. That's also maybe interesting, but I do have like a technical background, so I understand like where the confs are, like kind of get the idea of the user interface. But I guess like the first time you set up the entire new board, it takes like 30 minutes. But now I figured out that we can use previous groups. And now if you actually use the treasury automation workgroup, I made it as a template, then it automatically sets you up all the fields, all the columns, everything we're using. So that setup is now kind of done on that side. Only thing is maybe if you understand how to log into GitHub and like very basic stuff. And once you start using it, it's I don't know. I know it's technically easier than dwork, but I think back in the time when we started using dwork, the GitHub project part wasn't that useful. And well, back then we didn't have like the API either. So yeah, I don't know. Like it does a lot of stuff, but using the workgroup template, it removes all the unnecessary stuff. And once you kind of use it a few times, you'll learn the views and like the relevant things you're gonna do work for. Another thing I noticed is the permission stuff. So I noticed that like some people cannot assign themselves. So probably we need to like inviting people to the work group. So each work group has to do it on their own, where in dwork it was more like if you join dwork, you're a part of any work group. Or like you assign a role in Discord and then it matches up with the same role in the dwork. With GitHub, you know, that access management is more cumbersome, maybe, if I would say so. Again, yeah, nothing really that really is a trouble.
yeah, fair. Well, as Vanessa called out, I think the Archives was the one starting most of their stuff on GitHub. But back then, yeah, maybe the technology was not quite there. So yeah, in itself, workgroups are free to pick, I guess. Falls under autonomy, I reckon, as long as it's in a format that can feed into the treasury system. Yeah.
And another thing, I haven't started like improving the stuff, but for example, I'm thinking instead of allocating mins on field, and think I need to make a field that's on 1 hour. And now I'm also already creating like task labels like for other guilds and workgroups so that we can have cross-joined tasks from different workgroups. And where previously, yes, it was also possible in dwork. But well, yeah, I guess it never wasn't really a problem, but for me it was in a sense that we had Treasury Guild also in Warm and in Singularity net, and they also did in dwork export you couldn't make the difference, so you needed to like magic thinking or just operationally fix the groups. But with now using the GitHub API, can everything has its own ID, so you can never mess up where the task is coming from. Regarding, I don't know, it's an open topic, but we're actually looking into now into this Andamio platform. So because they are not only making the learning management system, they're also making a treasury system. And the fact that I'm right now looking for a smart contract for governance workstream that's Cardano related, that is able to do like reward distribution based on multi-signature holders. So right now, only we are paying the one who has the volatiles can pay out the rewards. But then it's more like if one wallet signs, another wallet signs, then it goes out or like have a more complex like voting mechanism. But with that discussion, I learned that we are using metadata, but smart contracts cannot read metadata. Yes, as humans, we can all use the Cardano blockchain as now to query the data and all the contributions and make up whatever graphs we want. But the smart contract cannot automate based on that. And what is smart contract is basically the Cardano as a computer. Like it's the function in the blockchain itself that executes. So let's say after somebody has rewarded you with 100 AGX for making videos, now you get then access to create longer videos or something else. But right now the validation has to happen like off-chain, that somebody looks the metadata or calculates the metadata and then does that thing. And the like Cardano contract itself cannot do it. But if we now move to a new paradigm and start to give like datums, which are like data points, and say each of these metadata turn into the bundle of datums, then we are going to get like, I don't know, you can think of it them as like tokens on your wallet. Well, that actually they are tokens on the blockchain that just validate that specific point of time. But now smart contracts are able to read that metadata, and we can make like built-in like governance rules and all that stuff. Even though we are a small group and we don't have too much money, but assume that one day we have to manage like $1 million, and then we can use smart contract to create the leadership roles and the people who are able to distribute these funds and all that thing. So yeah, Treasury is moving forward. If that collaboration goes well with the Gimbal Labs and the Andamia team, and we also get funded by the governance workstream proposal, then the way the Swarm Treasury has been working is going to change completely. Just kind of fun fact.
Yeah, fair. Well, I like it. I mean, in my mind, it makes me think that for AI agents, this is the way, right? Smart contracts are, yeah, there's not always going to be people in every loop. So there can be, but yeah. No, it's interesting. I need to read up a little bit on those governance work streams, I think is the term you used.
Yeah, we're working on a proposal. I can give you the latest and greatest that only few people have seen. Let me just drop it into the chat. Yeah, technically from this week, the work group or like the consortium is open. So this is the Google Doc itself, and it doesn't really have the budget link, so I can drop that also in there. The budget sheet is better to load. So yeah, if somebody feels like, hey, you guys are doing something cool, I want to facilitate or manage documents or do translations or whatever you find in that budget sheet, there is this responsibilities sheet that lists all kinds of roles and activities or like main responsibilities. We are looking people there. If you're interested, that's the opportunity to get involved. Because yeah, right now the way Cardano is working, we're doing this as a direct info action. D-reps are expecting more like top-down solutions where we need to determine who are going to lead the proposals and all the work. And something like we tried a different version before. It didn't work like asking, hey, we're gonna ask 1 million and then we're gonna use emergent strategies to come up with leadership roles and assign people and have, once you get money, it's usually easier to get people like into the position. But yeah, it's dealers want everything in silver platter, so you need engaged people.
Yeah, per. We'll read up. All right. I think we're getting to the wrapping up part of today's town hall. Quick final check. Anybody has something to add? Now you can. And if not, that's going to be it for today. Thanks for being here and sharing your time and insights. Quick reminder on tomorrow we have education work group at 15 UTC, Death by AI on 16 UTC, and R&D Guild at 17:30 UTC. So hope to see you on any of those calls, and if not, well, maybe later this week or on Discord. Thanks again, and do have a nice remainder of your Tuesday. Cheers.